Let's look at an example that looks at domain and ranges of f of x and absolute value of f of x. So let's consider the graph of f of x in blue right here. It's just a line, right? And let's find the domain. So the domain of f of x, we notice that I only have functions up until -2. Like if I input -3, I don't have a corresponding y value. So the domain of f is going to be, I start at -2. I have function value at -2, so it's going to be bracket. And I go all the way up to infinity for y. So that means that I have values for any x, no matter how big it is. So if x is right here, the corresponding y value is going to be up there somewhere. So it goes all the way to infinity. Now what about the range of the function? So the range is all the possible y values. So you notice that my y values start at, it looks like -3. And they go all the way up. So I have -3 here, -2 here, -1, and then I have 0, 1, 2, and so forth, right? So the range is going to be -3 to infinity. Now from the graph of f of x, let's draw the graph of absolute value of f of x. So let's do this one in red. So I want the graph of absolute value of f of x. As we saw in the introduction of absolute values, is that we get the graph of absolute value of f of x by reflecting the portion of the graph of f of x that is underneath the x-axis. So if you look, this is the x-axis, right? The portion underneath the x-axis is right here. So I'm going to flip that one by the x-axis. So it's going to go, this is going to go up to 3 right there. So that portion is going to get flipped to here. And it goes all the way there, right? So that's this portion flipped, and then the other one stays the same. Like that. Okay, so this is the graph of absolute value of f of x. Now let's find the domain of this. So what's going to be the domain of this function? So I'm going to write it here in red. So so the domain, we see that I can also input any x's greater than -2 and all the way to infinity, right? I don't have function for absolute value of f of x if I put -3. -3 is not going to have a corresponding y value. So the domain is also -2 to infinity. And then the range, how about the range now? Where are the possible y value? Notice that I don't have y values below the x-axis, so they start at 0 and they go all the way to infinity. This arrow tells me that they go all the way to infinity. So the range is 0 to infinity. So what do we notice about the domain of f of x and absolute value of f of x? You see that it's -2 to infinity for f of x, and it's also -2 to infinity for absolute value of f of x. Opposed to the range was -3 to infinity for f of x, and it changed to 0 to infinity for absolute value of f of x. I don't know what's going on in here. All right, so when I have absolute value of f of x, basically the range is the only one that is going to change compared to f of x.